Hi guys, welcome to a new video. In this video I'll be showing you how to cut and sew a very simple lab coat. It can be made in your desired length and size. If this is something you'd like, keep watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I make a new post. Thank you. For this lab coat, I use 2 yards of lab coat fabric. Just go to any fabric store and ask them for lab coat fabric. They'll show it to you. My tape, my scissors, and just basic essentials. I'll be cutting out the fabric to use, and this is just your hip measurement. Unfold, divided by 2, add all of your allowances, both your stitching and your ease, and then the length of your lab coat, and just cut it out. So please note, why cutting, because I cut the front and the back, that the front part is wider than the back, and this is because it has the button placket. So it's like your zipper allowance is like your buttonhole placket for your button shirt. So the front is wider than the back with 2.5 inch. As you can see, I just folded it inside so that it will be easy for me to cut, because I'm cutting the front and the back together. But I'm just raising it up for you to see that the 2.5 inches have been neatly folded underneath so that I can cut the front and the back together. Now I'm just going to measure to be sure that this is going to contain all of my measurements, and that's at least 15 inches wide. For the length of this lab coat, I wanted 32 inches, so I cut out 34 inches. Now I'm going to proceed with my measurement. The first one is my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8.5 inches. I'm going to mark the point there, and then I'm going to take my neck width, which is 3 inches for the front and the back. And for the neck depth, I'm using 1.5 for the back. As you can see, I'm just covering it to get my neck, and then 4 inches for the front. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a curve. So this is my front and my back neckline. The next step is to get my shoulder slope, which is to come down by 1 inch from my shoulder line and connect in a straight line to my neckline. From my shoulder slope, I'm going to be coming down by 8.5 inches, which is going to serve as my armhole line. Please, if you are doing this for a white lab coat, please make sure you don't use color chalk. I'm using color chalk for the purpose of this tutorial. I'll mark whatever I have on my shoulder line. I'll also mark it on the armhole line, and then I'll connect in a straight line, just like so. On my armhole line, I'm going to be taking my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll mark the points. I'll add 1.5 inches as ease, and then 1 inch for my sewing allowance. The next thing to do is to get my armhole curve, and I'm going to be taking the midpoint of my armhole line. I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch, connect one to the shoulder slope, and connect the other one to the chest line to get my armhole curve. The next thing to do is to take from my shoulder measurement to my waistline, and then I'm going to be inserting my waist measurement divided by 2. I'm going to be adding 1.5 inch for ease, and then 1 inch for allowance. Please remember that you can do this lab coat straight. You can try to go straight. Whatever you have on your hip line, just take it down, just like we usually do in boo-boos. Then I marked my hip point, and then I'm going to be inserting my hip measurement divided by 4, 1.5 inch for ease, and 1 inch as my sewing allowance. And then I'm going to connect to my waistline, and the other line will go straight to the bottom of this lab coat. I'm done, and now I'm just labeling front. The part that has the buttonhole allowance is the front, and this part is the back part of this lab coat. I realized that I can't cut out the front neckline on this back piece I've already drawn, so I'm just going back to redraw the front neckline on the front piece. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Just make sure you're following the neckline for the back, because the one on top is the back piece and the one behind is the front piece. After doing this, I'm going to go ahead and take out the back piece, and then I'll go ahead to cut out the front neckline. Now this is what it looks like. I'll open this up so that you can see the 2.5 extra inch that is going to serve as my buttonhole allowance. I'm going to go ahead and slit this open, so I'm going to have 2 pieces for the front and the back, just like you would for a button down shirt. So after I open this up, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and serge this area. So you can use your weaving to just weave it, and then you're going to fold it just like you already did when you were ironing, and then you're going to stitch it. So just watch where my hand is going. You're going to fold and you're going to stitch across the neckline. Just stitch the buttonhole allowance, stitch it across, and then turn it over to the right side. So this is what it looks like. You're going to turn it over and then give it a good press. So this is what you ought to have by the time you are done. Now the next thing to do is to place this together, the two front pieces together, and I'm going to go ahead and notch the area where the buttonhole allowance stops. You know the 2.5 that you turned and you stitch, you're going to notch where the area stops, because it is from there you are going to be adding your collar. So notch it in a way that you can identify it. After doing all of that, this is exactly what you should be having. The next thing to do is to attach my pockets. Now for the pocket, I've gone ahead to cut out two pieces of fabric that is 12 inches long and about 8 inches wide. You can choose to do your smaller or bigger depending on your preference. So for the upper part of the pocket, I folded by 1/2 inch, and then I further folded by 1 inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold round by 1/2 inch. You can use your hemming gum. I've gone ahead to fold with my hemming gum, and this is exactly what this is looking like. So I have my pocket ready. The next thing to do is to attach it to the front part of this lab coat. For the pocket, you can place this wherever you want to place it, but I decided to place mine a little bit under my waistline. Now I marked 3.5 inch for my bottom placket, and that was exactly where I placed my pocket. For the length, I used 19 inches, so you can choose to come higher or lower. Now an easy way to do this is to use your hemming gum to place this pocket, so that when you are stitching it, it will be easy. So I just use my hemming gum to gum round this pocket with my iron, and then I went ahead to stitch this round except the upper part, because remember you're going to be inserting your hand inside the pocket, so do not stitch the upper part closed. So the upper part remains open. I'm just putting my hand inside the pocket, so you'll see that the upper part is open. I repeated the same process for the other side of this lab coat, and this is exactly what it is looking like. The next thing to do is to place the front on the back, right side facing each other. Just place them right side facing each other, and then go ahead and stitch on the shoulder area by 1/2 inch. After stitching, the next thing to do is to measure round your armhole. So I'm just doing this before I go ahead and stitch. Measure around your armhole, and whatever you have, that's what you'll be using to cut out your sleeve for this lab coat. I measured mine and got 13 inches. Now for the sleeve, this is the starting line. I came down by 11 inches, which is 7 as my elbow measurement, and the full length, which is 20 inches, but I used 22. I'm going to extend my lines so they can be visible. From the starting point, I'm going to come down by 5 inch, which is going to serve as my cap sleeve. After coming down by 5 inch, I'm going to extend the line. Now I'm going to connect 13 inches in a slant. So that is exactly where 13 inches fall in a slant. I'm going to mark a point there, and then I'm going to connect in a slant. This is the easiest way to get your sleeve. I'll get the midpoint of 13 inches, which is 6.5, and then I'm going to be marking a point there. Now from the first point, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch to the upper part, and then from the second point, I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch towards the lower part. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch to the up, and then 1/2 inch lower to give you your curve for your sleeve. On my elbow line, I'm going to take my elbow measurement divided by 2, add 1 inch for allowance. Please add your ease to this sleeve. Remember, this is not meant to be tight. And I'm just going to connect all the points. This is like an average sleeve, so if you know how to cut your sleeve, you are good to go. After marking, I'm just going to go ahead and cut, following all of the lines that I've made. After pressing the sleeve, this is what it looks like, and next thing to do is to attach it to this sleeve opening. So I'm just going to place them right side facing each other, middle part to middle part, and then I'm just going to stitch using 1/2 inch round on both sides of the sleeves. After doing that, you're going to go ahead and pin it down, and then you're going to stitch using 1 inch from the beginning of the sleeve down to the end of the lap coat to get your lap coat. After I was done, this is exactly what it looks like. You can go ahead and give it a very good press at this point. The last thing left is the collar for this, and remember that part that I said you should notch, the part where the 2.5 inches that you folded stop. You're going to measure from one notch to the other. I did mine and I got 14 inches, so measure from one notch to the other notch. I'm remeasuring to be very sure I get the accurate measurements. So I'm going to cut out a piece of fabric that is, the width is at least more than 14 inches and the height should be at least 4 to 5 inches. You're going to fold this into two and give it a good press. I'm going to be using a very simple collar for this style. From the starting point, which is the part that is on fold, I'm going to measure 7 inches. Remember the collar is 14, so half of it is 7. I'm going to be marking a point there. So I'm just going to be using my ruler to mark on that line. So this is exactly the 7 inches. Now for the height of this collar, I'm going to be using, I want it to be 2.5, but I'm adding 1.5 inch so that I'll use it to fold it inside. So I'm cutting out 3 inches. So this is 7 inches wide, then 3 inches for the height. This is what we have for the collar. Now, because I don't want this collar to be straight, I'm going to go out by 1 inch on the part that is folded of this collar, and then I'm going to slant it into the upper part of this collar. Please just watch what I'm doing. Some people can go ahead and give this like a tiny curve, but I won't be doing that here. I just want mine to be straight. This is a simple style, so there's no need for too much. I'm going to go ahead and cut out following all the lines, and there we have the collar for this lab coat. After cutting this out, I'll go ahead and give it a good press, and this is what it looks like. The next thing to do is to fold one part by 1/2 inch. Just fold it by 1/2 inch, give it a good press. After doing that, you're going to go to your sewing machine and you're going to close out the edges by 1/2 inch. So close out the edges. I'm going to point to that point, close it by 1/2 inch. I will do that and I'll come and show you what it looks like. So after closing out the sides, this is exactly what you should have, and folding one part by 1/2 inch. As you can see, the collar is already taking shape. Now I went ahead to notch the midpoint of this collar. I'm sure you can see from the video. I'm going to be placing this collar on the right side of the lap coat. Please place on the right side. That's the easier way to do it. And then I'm going to pin this down round until I get to that notch that we made earlier. So pin this down. After that, you go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch and then put everything inside, and that part of the collar that you have folded, you now place it on top and stitch everything on top so that it will be neat. So after stitching the 1/2 inch, you put everything inside and stitch on top of it. This is exactly what it looked like by the time I was done, and we already have our lap coat. I also went ahead to put a small pocket because my sister said she wanted a pocket for the upper part. This pocket is, I think, 8 inches by 6 inches, so something small to hold your money or your pen or whatever. We're already done with this lap coat. The next thing to do is to go ahead and hem the bottom part of this lap coat, give it a good press, and that is all for this lap coat. Please, if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.